Hello, everybody. I'll wait a minute or two. Not a minute or two. I'll wait a few minutes here to make sure that we are live, which it looks like we are. Hello, hello. Happy Monday, y'all. I'm in my Schrute Farms, Beet Farms bed and breakfast sweatshirt this morning because it is Monday morning. And I got up early to walk Gabby to the bus stop. So it's casual Monday, at least for now. But I woke up actually at like 5 something this morning and I felt so inspired to work on a product that I am going to be releasing. I'm not sure exactly when, but I want to bring the virtual assistant matchmaking that we do to people who maybe can't afford to work with us and want to do it on their own, or people who just don't want to, would rather have the creative control to do that process on their own. And so I'm pulling back the veil, a curtain here, and I'm going to be releasing all the ways that we work for people to find them their perfect virtual assistant and giving them all of the materials that we use to do that. So what it brought me to thinking about in terms of sharing with you today was how and why I built my own team. So my business started in 2018 at the very tail end. I started November 1st of 2018. So we're coming up on my 3-year anniversary. And or I should say the company's 3-year anniversary. But my 3-year adventure into this thing called entrepreneurship, which is really interesting because for a lot of people, they've seen it in their family before. I've never seen that. My grandfather was a pediatrician, so for all intents and purposes, he was an entrepreneur, but he was retired by the time that I was a child. So I haven't really had this modeled for me, and I haven't had building a team modeled for me. And so I had to wing it to figure it out and do it by necessity. So the why I built my team was because when I initially started, my business revolved around me delivering services. By product, I mean the services directly to my consumer. At that time, I had multiple clients that were New York Life agents, and I was a previous New York Life agent. And so it was convenient for them to hire me as their admin, even at a slightly higher rate than they would normally pay, because they didn't have to train me. They didn't have to tell me what they needed. I intrinsically knew what they needed because I had been an agent previously. And I had a consultant flair. I had a business degree, so I could see the inside of what they were doing and make suggestions on tweaking that and in a way that they might not be able to see because they're in the grind of sales and in the grind of running things. And so that's how I started. And I really thought in the beginning that I would have just enough clients to fill 40 hours. That would be my business. And that would be all. I started to get, though, administrative assistant jobs more than I could do myself. And so I also met with a small business administration mentor who encouraged me to think about scaling. And I was so resistant to this idea of bringing on other people because in my mind, the business I had was because of me, because I knew the insides and outsides of the New York Life system. And so how could I possibly bring somebody else on? And it was also very highly regulated. And so you have to go through a very long ordeal to get somebody on as a assistant. So what I did was I just sat with that for a little bit. And when I started to get other clients outside of New York Life, where it would be a little bit easier to introduce this concept, I hired someone who was a college student who came recommended to me. I called up my friend and I was like, I don't have time to even go through posting a job description. My friend is an HR high up HR person at Microsoft. And I was like, can you put out your Spidey like bat signal and see who is in the like entry level that is smart? And I was like, basically I need me, but like 20 years old. And that was many moons ago, and I can't duplicate myself. And so within a few hours, I had a resume and I interviewed this person, and she was a great fit for what I was looking for. So I had her work with me. I eventually actually had her go through the process of becoming accredited or, into the system with New York Life. And I had her work alongside me as sort of a package deal, like where they got me, but they also got her. And I paid her as an employee, as a W-2 employee, because she was entry level, and I trained her, and I basically replicated myself. Like I just like almost everything that I could do, she could do. The only things she didn't know how to do were higher level tasks that were servicing tasks, and we just never got there. She probably would have gotten that at some point, but we just never really got there. So that was my first employee ever, and it was very, very scary for me because I felt like now I'm responsible for somebody else's income. But what I saw was this dramatic increase in capacity, and so I was able to take on more clients, and I was able to really dive into my business in a way and look at it in a way that I wasn't before because I was so in the trenches before. So again, things started happening outside of the New York Life space. And so I started to gain some momentum with speaking opportunities and other things. And so let me write that down too, actually. I have a list here before I forget. And so I started needing help of the personal variety. I needed help with various tasks. And so I hired, I was consuming all sorts of content about building a team and hiring a virtual assistant because I knew that my next step would be a virtual assistant, not, my assistant before was virtual, but I wanted somebody like potentially outsourced. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure that I could bring on another W-2 employee just because my profit margin was so low. And so I was toying with this idea, and the coach that I had at the time encouraged it too. So I found in 3 different places, I found this reference to hiring in the Philippines and this particular website. And so I decided to go on and check it out, and they allow you to have a free account. And so I kind of like poked around in there, and they have some videos and different things on there. And I like basically just cruised the whole site and like absorbed it all. And then I was like, screw it, I'm just going to try. So I posted a job description. I don't remember how many applications I got. I remember it was a bunch. I interviewed a bunch of people, and I narrowed it down to 2. And I was so unclear at that time because I was winging it and didn't have the support or any information about what developing a clear job description, that I wasn't sure who I wanted to hire. I couldn't make a decision, so I hired them both. One emerged as the clear keeper, and one I kept way too long because I felt bad. And one of the things that you need to know in business and when you're building your team is you are not a charity. Like you can be so kind. And I like went to this situation and I learned so much from it because number 1, I should have never hired this person in the first place. And number 2, at the first couple signs of red flags, I should have let this person go. But my first response, which I still would do, is to say, hey, what's going on with you personally? Because I'm noticing some things in your performance at work. And I'm concerned because the output doesn't really match what you're saying you're working. And I tend to pay on, for my outsourced employees, pay on a salary because it's easier for me than trying to calculate all the hours. And when I have somebody here, I like to use Gusto, which is a payroll service. Amazing, super easy. super, super easy to use. So I highly recommend that if you're going to do somebody here as an employee, use something like Gusto. It's very easy to set up. But with outsource, you're not doing something like that. So anyways, the point was that I gave him like a couple chances to tell me what was going on, because it was really ridiculous. The amount of output that was coming out was not matching what, the hours. And then I wasn't able to get a hold of that person when they were supposedly working and all these kinds of things. So eventually I let that person go and I stayed with one assistant, and I had my assistant that was working here. The team morphed over time. I did bring on a couple other W-2 employees, like employees here, mostly to do specific accounts. I had a client who was a realtor who had most of her business was Spanish speaking. And so I brought on some bilingual assistants to help with her account. And then I eventually built most of my team, in the Philippines. Because again, like I had been told, and what I found was that there was this wealth of quality individuals who were very excellent workers, and it was something that was more affordable for me. So when you're looking at building your team, I want you to think outside of the box. We're not just talking about employees. We're talking about who is it that besides yourself supports your function of operations, marketing, all the things that go into your business. So number one for me was my partner, my husband. So he has helped me in so many ways. And this could be anybody for you, whoever your go-to person is. But for me, obviously there was a financial strain because I used to work a full-time job, making decent money. And then when you start a business, you need to have a runway of money. And I didn't. I had no runway. And so we took a huge hit, not only by missing out on the money that I would be earning, but the money that was spent. And so my husband was a huge support by just kind of allowing things to unfold the way they needed to, by providing emotional support, and by just, anything like small errands, things like that. Friends and family can be this for you. Like a lot. I also have like my go-to speed dial people that I'm like, today is like a bad day. Or I had this crazy client, or a celebration, like I got a new client, and then they're like, yay, they get excited for me. So I need that community because I don't have coworkers. You know what I mean? I don't have the same, and even though I have a team, they're not my coworkers. They work for me. So it doesn't make sense, for me to call them and celebrate with them the same way. Then, you kind of move to the people who you wouldn't necessarily think are part of your team, but are totally part of your team. I'm going to read a list of people that I have hired. Number one, coaches. I've had 3 business coaches who are very, very different and serve very, very different purposes. And I cannot recommend to you enough, if you have not hired a business coach, make the investment, do it. You will not regret it. I have a podcast. I hired a podcast editor right away because I knew that I did not want to edit my podcast. I hired a bookkeeper because I try to do my own books. And even though they were very simple, in the middle of the night, I was like waking up feeling worried that I was doing it wrong and I was going to have to pay tons in taxes, or I was going to get audited by accident because I didn't know what I was doing. I hired marketing and branding consultants because, again, I don't know what I'm doing. This is not my area of expertise. And I learned a lot about branding. I learned that branding is not just your logo, your fonts, your colors, all those things. It's really about how you position yourself out in the marketplace, and how you represent yourself, and who you're looking for. So I hired an SEO specialist. Not my best hire, but because we're still working on that. But, again, I don't know anything about SEO, and I had a whole website built and then found out that we hadn't done any SEO on the website because I didn't know to ask the web developer if they were going to do it SEO style. So I've done marketing apprentices through Acadium, which used to be Gen M. I currently have one. She's a freaking rock star. Her name is Riah. Shout out to Riah. And I've had many, many others that are phenomenal. I had Letty was on my team. Nena was on my team. Jasmine was on my team. Sharika was on my team. I've gone through, they're usually 3-month apprenticeships. So I've done this because, number one, it does provide me help, but also it provides the opportunity of mentorship of somebody else and giving them the opportunity. I didn't have those opportunities necessarily, and so I want to provide those opportunities for somebody else. I had a social media manager for a while, and she was fantastic. She actually ended up opening her own company, her own social media agency or marketing agency. I've had copywriters before. I had somebody, Kaylee Laren. Shout out to Kaylee. I had Kaylee help me with copy on my website. I had Dana Santiago help me with some blog articles and getting things started there. I've had web developers help me, graphic design. I had a Pinterest specialist that I did a consultation with. The point here is your team is way more than what you think it is. It's taking the tasks and the things that you do that don't bring you revenue and finding a place for those tasks with somebody who can do them more efficiently. And it's going to cost you much less money, even though it feels like a lot of money at one time. It's actually costing you less. So these are ways that I've invested in my business by building in and bringing in people either to work with me long term or to add to a specific project or to help me up level in certain areas. It's just so important, guys. It's just like you cannot do it all by yourself. The thing I left off of here that I have didn't mention is that I also had a personal assistant. She doesn't work with me anymore, but Lynn Gutierrez, it was for the longest time. She got a better job, so it was nothing bad. By better, I mean she ended up having a better opportunity. She came in and she, yes, helped me with stuff with my business, but she also was like, Riah, how can I help you personally? And she really helped pry things out of my hands. And she even would, at one point, we moved things over for her to help me pay my bills because my personal responsibilities were suffering under the weight of my professional responsibilities. So I want you to really think outside of the box. Some of these things are not a luxury. They are a necessity if you are going to grow, if you are going to be successful, if you are going to be profitable. I'm not recommending that you spend money that you don't have, but I am recommending that if you're on the precipice of growth, and you are capped out at what you can do, or you are stressed because you are doing things that are not in your wheelhouse, then really consider all the different ways that you can get help. All the different ways. If something like outsourcing a virtual assistant is something that you are interested in but are overwhelmed with, that is what I do. That is how I help people, is by simplifying that process and doing it for them. We take care of all of it for you. You only have to pick between the top 3 candidates out of hundreds and hundreds of applications. That being said, hold tight, because if you want help but you don't want to pay for someone to do it for you, I am diligently working on providing a course of sorts to help you do it yourself. But in the meantime, hire a babysitter so that you can get a couple extra hours of blog writing in. Please hire a bookkeeper. Oh my God. Don't do your own books unless you are an accountant. Don't do your own books. And if you're an accountant, don't do your own books, because you could be doing somebody else's books and be making money. In fact, if any accountants who are watching, if you are looking for people underneath you to help you boost your ability to take on new clients, the Philippines is chock full of QuickBooks certified, Xero certified accountants. Some of them are 100% CPAs, and they can help you with the bookkeeping side of things, and it can be very, very affordable and really increase your profitability. So that's a side note. So I just want you to think outside of the box. How can you build your team? What can you get off your plate? How can you get rid of things? Elise Taylor always says, like, take your arm and sweep off your desk. Like, how can you do that for yourself? Because this is essential. This is not something that you can do on your own. Because if you do, either you're going to go crazy or you're going to cap out. Like, you're just not going to make any more money because you have limits. You're only one person. So the lesson and the lecture today apparently is, don't do it yourself. First of all, it's freaking lonely and you don't know what you're doing because you're not good at all the things. And second of all, you are capable of so much more if you just leverage other people's genius. So that's my little sermon for you this morning. I, again, encourage you guys so much. If you are thinking about growing your team, you're confused about it, you know what you want. You know what you want, you know the areas that you need help in, you know, or you are like rocking it, but you just need more hands to be able to rock it farther. And you don't want to deal with the whole hiring process. Right here. I gotcha. If you just have questions or anything like that, just let me know. I'm going to go back through the comments on the streams and I'll make sure to address everybody's questions. But I just thank you guys so much. Happy Monday to you. It's going to be an awesome week, guys, because Dwight Schrute's Beet Farm says so. Anyways, sending love to everybody and have a wonderful, wonderful week. Go grow your team, guys. Seriously, like, think about it. How can you offload some of this stuff? Have fun. Have a productive week, guys. Bye.